It's 1685. The battle is over.
The Duke of Monmouth Rebellion has failed, and if you thought things couldn't get worse, you'd be wrong. The smoke had cleared, the rebels have scattered, and the fields around Sedgemoor are quiet again, apart from the soldiers rounding up anyone who looked even slightly guilty of having had an opinion. Prisoners are dragged back into town, others marched to places like Taunton to face trial, all of them waiting to discover that surviving the battle was actually the easy part. Because what comes next isn't chaos, it's organised, it's official, and it's a lot less forgiving. It was a legal process.
Historically, legal processes tend to feel uncomfortable, and this one was no exception. It came with rope.
Bridgwater. You've probably driven through it. Most people only know Bridgwater as that place you pass through on the way to somewhere betterer. But stop and see for yourself, and you'll find a town bursting with hidden gems. Architecture, rebellion, naval legends, even a carnival that could wake the dead. It's a town of firsts and lasts and things we're still not sure ever existed, like the historic treacle mines at Dumble. Welcome to Bridgwater, but don't tell too many people about it, because the roads are busy enough already.
You might remember the Battle of Sedgemoor. That's the one where a group of tired rebels tried to overthrow King James II and failed. They mostly got lost in a ditch.
It didn't go well. Monmouth fled. His army collapsed, and Bridgwater, which had briefly been at the centre of rebellion, was now about to become the centre of something else.
Punishment. To deal with the rebels, the Crown sent Judge George Jeffreys. He sounds like an extra actually from Rainbow.
Now Jeffreys was known for many things. His legal knowledge, his efficiency, and his ability to make people extremely nervous just by entering a room.
He was, by all accounts, not what you'd call relaxed. In fact, his nickname was the Hanging Judge, which in legal terms is less of a nickname and more of a warning. The Bloody Assizes weren't just held in one place. They travelled across the West Country. A bit like a circus, I guess, but with less juggling and no elephants or candy floss for that matter. And Bridgwater was one of the main stops.
Hundreds of people were brought before the court. Farmers, labourers, local men who had, weeks earlier, decided that backing a rebellion might be a good idea, only to find out it wasn't. Now, technically, these were trials. There were judges. There were charges. There were, presumably, moments where someone said, "Order in the courtroom," and banged a hammer on a bit of wood. But the outcomes were fairly predictable. Jeffreys wasn't there to gently explore the nuances of rebellion or deal with all the he said, she said stuff.
He was there to make a point, and that point was, don't do this again. Ever.
The punishments were severe.
Very severe. Many were transported to places like Barbados and Jamaica, which today would sound like a really, really good holiday. But in this case, it was a slightly better option than the execution what 300 other people got. And the executions weren't quiet affairs. They were public. Because nothing says lesson learned quite like being made an example of. Bodies were displayed across towns and villages, including here in Bridgwater. It's difficult to overstate just how harsh this was. After all, this wasn't justice as we might think of it today, balanced, measured, occasionally involving paperwork. This was justice as theatre, loud, visible, and designed to make absolutely sure nobody got any ideas. Judge Jeffreys became infamous for his role. Stories describe him as aggressive, intimidating, and even less patient than Neil in our marketing department. He reportedly insulted defendants, rushed proceedings, and handed out sentences with a level of enthusiasm that made people uncomfortable, even by 17th century standards. And that's saying something.
For Bridgwater, this was a defining moment. Just weeks earlier, it had been a place of rebellion, a town briefly aligned with a would-be king. Now it was a place of reckoning. The same streets that had seen marching men and hopeful speeches now saw prisoners, guards, and the machinery of punishment.
History doesn't always move forward. Sometimes it swings back, quite hard.
Nearby Taunton also played its part. It had supported Monmouth quite enthusiastically.
and it too felt the consequences.
The Assizes moved through the region, leaving behind a trail of sentences, stories, and a general sense that perhaps next time staying neutral might be a safer option.
It's easy to talk about numbers. Hundreds executed, hundreds more transported. But each of those numbers was a person.
Someone who made a decision, perhaps a hopeful one, perhaps a reckless one.
And then paid for it. Not with a fine, not with a warning, but with everything they had. And yet this is part of Bridgwater's story. Not just the battles and the victories, but the aftermath, the consequences. The moments where history stops being heroic, well, starts becoming more uncomfortable, really.
As for Judge Jeffreys, history, as it often does, had its own plans. After the Glorious Revolution in 1688, he fell from power. He was arrested and he died in the Tower of London, which is a reminder that even people handing out sentences don't always get the final say.
Today, Bridgwater looks normal.
Shops, one's what open, traffic, people going about their day. But beneath that, there's history.
Battles, rebellions, the aftermath, the consequences of making a stand.
When you visit the Battle of Sedgemoor site, just outside Bridgwater, or walk through the streets of Bridgwater, keep in mind what came after the battle.
Because sometimes the most important part of history is what happens when it's over.
If you found this interesting, give the video a like and drop a comment. And if you like your history with a drop of irony and sarcasm, subscribe to the channel and hit the grey bell to get notifications about our latest uploads as and when they drop.